Ladies and girls, it's football season.
The gang's all here.
We're
We're back, boys.
The
Let's
crew
go.
is all here. Gentlemen, I can't remember the last time we were together. I was talking to Todd about it. He said he thinks it was the Super Bowl podcast. So if that
makes sense.
tells us it hasn't been a long time, it's great to see all three of your faces here at the same time. Gentlemen,
It's
how the
been
hell are you?
Months. Honestly, I'm. This is the most excited I've been to do a podcast in a very long time. I just got to throw it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
we're right on the doorstep of football. I'm getting really, really juiced up for it. I'm sure we're all going to cut each other off 1,000 times because there's 4 people on here tonight. I can't wait.
We'll find it. I'll try to rein it in, boys.
Pour a little bourbon, so I'll get a little saucy.
Yeah, got a little Kirksey hard Celsius and some high nooners ready to go. I think it's going to be a beautiful program. Beautiful program. First of all, shout out to all the people coming in and hanging out. The boys are back. Okay,
Absolutely.
Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate football. Air was a little crisp yesterday morning when I woke up as well. And the first thing I thought is, where are my cleats? So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to. I think I'm going to walk on to a football program this year as well.
Honey, get the spikes. It's time.
Call me Thin Lizzy, baby. The boys are back in town.
I've got eligibility, is all I'm saying. I have used 0 of my NCAA eligibility.
I would pay a ridiculous amount of money to see you try.
I believe there's a cumulative total of 16 years of eligibility here, fellas.
I mean, look at
really,
Stenson Bennett
20.
collects fucking Social Security, and he played college football. So
It's true. Him and Hendon Hooker both.
He does throw a pretty nice ball, though. I'm not going to lie.
yeah,
He does throw a pretty nice ball. But without further ado, why we're here tonight, we are talking overs and unders. This week, we are going to be tackling the NFC. We are going to start, in our opinions, with the worst and work our way to the best division. And we'll kind of get to it from there. Each division, one of us is going to have a lock for each team, or it could be the same team, but we all get a lock on an over and an under. We all know the unders are a hell of a lot more fun than the overs. So we'll see how tonight goes. So without further ado, the first team on the board, the Atlanta Falcons, 8.5 games. I'm gonna kick this over to my guy Aaron and let him lead this one off. Aaron Mailing, Falcons over under 8.5.
Yeah, that's again. It's gonna be the story of the podcast. Is that number seems right? You know, and Vegas has a pretty good job of doing this, right? When I look at Atlanta, I think the thing you have to pay attention to, of course, is the division itself, right? I think this is where there's a reason we're starting this division. It's the worst one, but somebody is going to come out of this, and they're probably going to come out of it with a winning record. I would be surprised if we get an 8-9 team that ultimately makes the playoffs. Somebody is going to out of this division. Again, same thing I did with the AFC South last year. I believe truly there won't be more than one team that makes it out of here. I don't think it's Atlanta. I'm going to take the under here on the Falcons. I'm not yet sold. Listen, the Bijan Robinson draft pick, that's great. I'm never big on taking running backs that early, although I believe he does have the juice to do it. He's going to be a great fantasy pick. Take him in your first rounds. It'll be fun. You still can't figure out the Kyle Pitts thing. Drake London showed that he can be, a pretty solid receiver last year. I'm not sold on Ridley. I'm not really sold on much in this division, to be quite honest with you. This isn't one I would put my own money on, but I'm going to take the Falcons under here. Just more confident in that number at 8.
Okay. Todd.
Sheesh. So looking here at the NFC South, fellas, and we have an NFC North and an AFC South matchup. That's what we're looking at this year. So arguably the two worst divisions in the AFC, NFC playing each other this year.
AFC. Well, I'm sorry. What was that? South and North and NFC North. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I thought you said AFC North. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. I might have. Who knows? I'm so excited that I don't even. I blacked out. Look, I think this is to kind of piggyback here off of my boy AA Ron. Desmond Ridder still has to prove himself as an NFL quarterback, and that's a big question mark, right? And the Falcons go out and get Taylor Heineke, who's proven to win, who's proven to be a good locker room guy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the Falcons are still going with Desmond Ridder, and we saw just 3-4 weeks of him last year towards the end of the year. He doesn't necessarily have a sea legs under him yet. And they start off the season playing it. They play at home against the Panthers. So you're playing in division to start off the season. That's a big game. That's an exclamation point game for the Falcons. With that being said, I agree with Aaron. I think 8 feels like a very safe number for Atlanta. Thinking that they're going to have a winning record with, and again, they had a ton of money in the offseason that they spent. They improved their defense significantly, right? Going out and getting Jesse Bates. They went out and got help on the defensive line. They locked in Lindstrom on the offensive line. They drafted Bijan Robinson. That's all great stuff, but chemistry is important. And if you start off the season a little weak, things get tough. So I'm going under 8.5 here.
Corey.
This is something that I think you're going to hear me saying a lot tonight in general, and I'm taking the under in Atlanta. Atlanta, actually, though, try and add some value to this conversation because I feel like we are kind of just jerking each other off here when it comes to
hey, great point.
saying the same things. But yeah, Atlanta is my biggest wild card, I think, in this division, maybe even in the NFC. More will be learned as we play the games, obviously, but they could go either way, in my opinion. And a lot of that boils down to something that Todd mentioned is Desmond Ridder and the play of Desmond Ridder. I mean, when we look at him in the first, quarter of this season, he's still technically a rookie by games played, right? Or games started. So it's going to take a little bit of learning curve for him to continue to get up to speed. Now he's got a second additional year under Arthur Smith and that offense and learning that and obviously getting a little bit more, more help on the weapons side, I think is huge. They did make some improvements to that defense by going out and getting Jesse Bates, but let's be honest, that defensive bar was really low.
Super low.
They were terrible. It was like the Minnesota Vikings and then the Atlanta Falcons as the worst defenses in the NFC last year. And obviously they made some improvements, but as I said, they didn't have far to go to get better. But 8.5 seems high to me. I don't see this team having a winning record, and for that reason, I am taking the under.
Yeah, I'm going to follow suit. You guys made a ton of great points. I don't know if there's anything else more to say other than the fact that I'm not sold on Desmond.
Bruce, thanks for liking the stream.
As you put it, the team is him and Bijan Robinson are going to be key pieces of that team.
Well, I think Kyle Pitts is also. We're not talking about the biggest question mark in the entire team outside of Desmond Ridder is Kyle Pitts, and this is year 3 for Kyle Pitts. It's time to make a step, guys. Like it has to happen now. This is typically when you would see that out of a tight end in year 3, and a lot of people expect that a top 5 draft pick such as Kyle Pitts is going to just have an immediate impact. That doesn't necessarily always happen with tight ends, and it takes some progression. So he was just a freak athletic specimen, and that's why he got drafted there. So I'm not making excuses for a Florida Gator here, but I am really excited to see what happens with him, Bijan, Drake London as well. I think that they have that potential to. That's why they're the wild card, right? They're my wild card out of this division specifically, in that they could end up winning this thing. Aaron and I talked about it on here before. Atlanta could win this division, and if at the end of the season they're the ones hosting a playoff game, I'm not too surprised.
I'm open to the case of any 4 of these teams winning the division, to be quite frank.
Not Tampa Bay. I'm not signing up.
I could hear the argument. That defense still has key pieces to it, and it's not like Godwin and Evans aren't still there. That's the one I would say is the most least likely. But if you told me that the Seahawks were going to win their division last year, I'd have told you were crazy.
I think they have the worst quarterback out of the whole division, which makes it.
We don't even know who it is.
Exactly.
Well, right.
Either one, Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, is the worst quarterback in that division.
And before we move off of it, I think the biggest reason I'm under on him is I'm not sold on Ridder, but I also could see by the end of the season him, maybe making a step or showing something, but it's just kind of not believing in, the early season part. And I think that's going to cost him some wins.
Yeah. I think he's somebody too. I think a lot of people are going to follow fantasy-wise are going to follow Desmond Ridder closely because he could have some Jalen Hurts-esque numbers, right? We all love Jalen Hurts in fantasy. His first year of starting because of the value he has on the ground. I think, Atlanta's going to fall back into that a lot. It's going to be a lot of running the ball, a lot of slow game, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
All right, fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and move on. Corey, I'm going to have you lead this one off. We got the Carolina Panthers, 7.5 games over under.
Yeah, real quick, my answer on this under. You're going to hear me say that a lot tonight. And if you're from a betting strategy, if you're betting against on NFC over-unders, over across the board, I think under is a really safe bet across the board. You're going to win more than you're not, I think, in this conference. That being said, main reason for me in Carolina, guys, let's just be honest. You start a rookie quarterback, you're going to be typically picking in the top 10. That's just the way it goes. There's a learn.
Sure.
And that's not to say that Bryce Young isn't going to be effective in that offense and that they're not, he's not going to be a piece for them to build around. It's just going to be difficult. That's going to be something that happens. And Bobby, Steelers don't count because they didn't start Kenny Pickett the whole season. So I don't want you getting in here all riled up about the Steelers, but this is my lock. This is actually my lock is an under on 7.5 for Carolina. I think this is way too high, way too inflated. Where's the ball going? Like what is this offensive juggernaut that is going to allow them to carry them to 8 wins this season? I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna bounce it over to Todd.
Yeah, look, I think I'm looking at the depth chart right now, fellas, because I wanted to get insightful. And here's my insight. It's rough. That's as insightful as I can get. For ultimate, I'm looking through the depth chart here. Top receiver being Adam Thielen, who is he's on the back 9. Let's call it what it is.
Terrence Marshall just got carted off.
He did. Then you're looking at the run game, and it's Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard, and Chuba Hubbard played well last year for the Panthers, but Miles Sanders, my question mark to him all the time is he going to be healthy? Right. That's the big thing for a rookie quarterback. It's important to be able to hand the ball off a few times a game and try to take some pressure off you to establish some play action plays. And I'm not necessarily certain that the Panthers have that. And then I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball here, and all I see is J.C. Horn. That's it. That's all I see for them on defense as being an advantage. Again, I think they're in the worst division in the NFC, but you got to play out of your division, and I don't see them having a winning record out of their division either. It's not my lock, but I agree. I'm going under here.
Okay, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm actually taking the over here. I think somebody in this division is going to have to win a couple games. This is certainly not a lock for me. I think there's a reason Bryce Young was taken number 1, and I also think we all have a pretty sour taste in our mouth from watching a team get shut out in the preseason. I don't really read too much into preseason in general. I'm not saying that that's why you guys are picking the way that you are, but
no, I just think eight wins is a lot for a rookie. That's all my point was.
No. I don't disagree with that. It's a lot of this just has to do with, you're going to play these teams 6 times. Okay. And I just, worst case scenario, can I see them going 500? Absolutely. I just think, I don't think it's a difficult schedule for them. They of course finished in 2nd last year, and frankly had a chance to make the playoffs towards the end of the year, which was kind of crazy to see. And let's not oh God, what's his name? Now it's just escaping me. Who's
Charlie?
the coach?
Thanks for popping in.
What's his name? Who was at Baylor and they just fired the old Rule. I honestly think there's some positive regression that's going to happen just out of him not being there.
It's Frank Reich now, correct?
Yeah, exactly. This is more so just a same thing with if Atlanta was at 7.5, I might have taken the over. I just think this team has a lot of 7, or this division has a lot of 7 to 8
Josh,
teams.
thanks for popping in and liking the stream. Appreciate it.
And I'm going to take I'm just going to kind of take a dart here at the Panthers on the over.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one, man. We don't know what to expect from a rookie quarterback. A lot of them come in and struggle for the first half of the season, and you see them start to figure it out. I will make a comparison to Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett obviously had a rough start, but the back half of the season, he was great.
Kenny Pickett's not undersized, though, either. Bryce Young is sure, tiny hands, big heart, wins games. But Bryce Young being an undersized quarterback with kind of the way the undersized quarterback has performed over the last couple of years, that makes me nervous too. Sub 6 foot quarterback. I get nervous about those guys.
No, you're absolutely right. But I agree with Corey and Todd. I don't think there's enough firepower on this offense for me to say that they're going to win 8 games this year. I don't see it. I'm taking the under here. I am not going to lock this one, but
Did you lock that, Todd?
I did.
Corey locked that
Corey
one.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
Corey put that. Bruce, are you playing professional quarterback in the NFL? Then yes, I am calling you undersized. But
Bruce, I don't think you're going to make it, bud. I just don't think you're going to make it.
But in the real world, you're fine. Everything's fine. It's all fine. Don't
You guys
sweat
are
it, buddy.
funny. All right. Now to the team with the highest projected over/under, the New Orleans Saints. Todd, I'm gonna let you lead this one off, sir. 9.5 games for the Saints this year, over/under.
Phew, feels like a lot for a team coming out of the NFC South, boys. 9.5 feels heavy. So I am going to take the under here, and this is going to be my lock because I do believe that they will go 9-8 this year. That's where I stand in New Orleans. Obviously, no Kamara for 3 weeks, right? Kind of a drop in the bucket. Doesn't really matter there. Bringing in an accurate quarterback and Derek Carr matters some. I think anything's an upgrade over a back nine Andy Dalton and the Crab-Leg King himself, Mr. Jameis Winston. I think anything is an upgrade over that.
Jameis
Great
is still
fantasy
there.
team, by the way.
He's the
Crab-Leg
backup.
Kings.
He's the backup at least.
Yeah, he is.
He's the backup. That's what I'm saying. Anything starting over him is fine. I like the wide receiver room in New Orleans. I think Chris Olave is a healthy Chris Olave and Michael Thomas is 2,000 yards for Derek Carr right there, no problem. We saw Olave even battle through some concussion protocol, have some really big games last year. In year 2, he's only going to be more refined. Bringing back Cam Jordan on the defensive side of the ball at least helps them from a presence on the field, having that veteran presence on the field. Again, nobody in the NFC South minus Tampa Bay has a defense that makes me a little bit nervous. I think all these defenses are willing to give up big points. But, fellas, somebody's got to win the division. Tampa Bay did it with 8 games. I just think New Orleans does it with 9 this year. That's it. That's my
Fair
logic.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. I think when you really break down the NFC, Derek Carr is a top 5 quarterback, as sad as that is to say out loud.
That's crazy.
Chris,
He could even be top 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he could. He easily could. Obviously, I think Jalen Hurts, unassailable, number 1.
Yep.
You can talk to me about Kirk Cousins. You can talk to me about Jared Goff. You can talk to me about Prescott.
Derek Carr is right there.
Derek Carr is right there in the mix, which is a crazy sentence to say out loud in the year.
You just named the top 4 in the NFC. So.
Yeah.
So, and not to just hit on all the same points there that Todd just did, but I really love Olave a lot. I think from a purely football perspective, I think the Kamara news is actually pretty good for New Orleans. And then you take a look at their defense.
Jamal Williams.
Right, exactly. And you take a look at their defense, and they still got some guys. I mean, obviously Cameron Jordan isn't what he used to be, but he's still, the heartbeat of that defense. Demario Davis has been solid. Tyrann Mathieu, you got Marshawn Lattimore, Bradley Roby. There's some guys on this.
Sounds like that defense was like stacked in like 7 years ago.
Sure.
That's what I was going to say. In 2017, I'm nervous, but I hear you. There's a lot of
but still very good. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, it's just comparative. I'm comparing this to the rest of the division where I know they're going to play these guys 6 times. I think the Saints go 5-1 in the division. So now find me 5 more wins. I can see it. And again, I think 9.5 is pretty high. I would love to eat some juice and just take the 9. You know what I mean? And be okay with a push at 9 because I feel pretty good about that. But at the end of the day, there's that half point on it. I'm leaning towards the over because same thing. Someone has to fail and win this division.
Yeah, absolutely. David Carr's last stand defense may make a difference. Yeah, I mean if they can get back to playing like their younger years, and I think they've got a good chance. But Corey,
they made the NFC Championship in 2019, right?
Yeah,
2018
with removed, but
with
football
Drew Brees,
years, that's like 2 decades ago.
They also had a Hall of Fame quarterback at that time.
Sure, I'm just saying that the defense hasn't changed that much in that time frame.
Just Drew Brees, no big deal.
That consistency is very helpful.
I'm only talking about defense, fellas. I'm just talking off. We're not talking off.
Fair enough. Corey, over under 9.5.
Shocker, I'm taking the under. This is the worst division in football. That said, the Saints are by far the best team. I think they absolutely are the best team. I don't see the Atlanta winning 9 games. I don't see Carolina winning 8 games. I don't see New Orleans winning 10 games. However, 9 games, as Todd said earlier, could absolutely, and I think will win this division. Shit, you could see a team win this division with a losing record. I think that could absolutely
again.
Yeah,
2 years ago.
again. It could absolutely happen. And it's not, honestly, look back the last 10 years. I think it's happened at least 2 or 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just kind of the way it's shaking out. But when I look at quarterback play, just some positive things to say about the Saints. It's like, I'm putting Tampa Bay, whomever they decide is going to play quarterback. And then I'm putting Desmond Ridder, Bryce Young, and then a pile of shit. And then it's Derek Carr. He is heads and shoulders above the rest of the competition in this division, which I think leads the Saints to being that team that hosts the divisional or the playoff game, winning the division there. But 10 wins, it does seem like a lot. It really does seem like a lot. I think they do have a lot of opportunities, we'll call them, on the defensive side of the ball still that they can continue to improve on. And Derek Carr, at the end of the day, is he a stone cold killer? No, he's not going to lose it for you, but oftentimes he doesn't go out and win it for you either. Sure. Not necessarily the guy that's putting teams on his back. So I'm taking the under here at 9.5. 10 just seems heavy. Yeah.
Cool. I'm taking the over and I'm locking it.
Ooh.
For this division. I just think that this receiving core is unbelievable. I mean, obviously Chris Olave, he's got a much better, pass thrower than.
Is Michael Thomas that much anymore? Like, is Michael Thomas what we like? First of all, he can't stay on the field.
I think this is Michael Thomas's last year in the league if he gets hurt again.
He can't stay on the field at all.
Yeah, he hasn't played. I don't think he hasn't played a full season since 2019.
They're like a really good Madden wide receiver core.
I think Olave is that good, though.
I don't disagree. I don't
think you're asking Michael Thomas to be a number one.
No, I think you're asking Michael Thomas to catch some red zone touchdowns. I think that's exactly what you want from him. You're not expecting him to go out and catch one over the middle anymore. That's not his game. His game is not to get hit hard. His game is to just make ridiculous catches in the red zone. So, yeah, I'm gonna lock in the over here on the Saints 9.5. I think they're the best team in this division. Like Aaron said, 5. I can see them winning in the division, no problem.
I see 1-6.
5, sure. So, cool. Last one, and then we'll move on. The NFC South, Aaron, we've got the Bucks, 6.5 games over under.
Yeah, this is my lock. This is the last team we have in the division here, but it's the under here for the Bucks. What is it, 6.5?
6.5 games.
I bet this a while ago. This is part of it is, of course, the Baker thing. And what is crazy to me as this is an open competition, which is just bananas. Of course, Tampa Bay still has, they still have some guys on that defense that were there that were on the Super Bowl. They still have some guys on that offense that were there that won the Super Bowl. But what I see is a team that is going to be, by the middle of the season or when you get into the dog days of it, just listless. Unfortunately for Mike Evans, this is probably the season he goes under 1,000 yards for the first time in his career.
That sucks.
I know. But does it? I mean, to do it as long as he did, I mean, he is.
Yeah, I know. But
Hall of Famer,
just
everybody?
Cool.
Hall of Famer?
Yeah. He has to be.
Has to be. Super Bowl champion, the only receiver ever to go 1,000 after
first ballot, no questions.
No question.
Move on.
I think you're going to see some guys. There's a lot of vets that are still lingering on this roster from the, chasing Brady, and I think you're going to see a lot of, cold tub club guys towards
trade
the middle
deadline
of the
guys.
Season. Trade deadline guys, sure. Yeah. Is Chris Godwin going to get traded to
Mike
a
Evans?
Team? Yeah, right. Exactly. Are these going to be guys that get traded to some teams that are looking, for some receivers in the middle of the year? Probably. The AFC has no problem giving draft picks to the NFC to somehow get a leg up, or of course, there's gonna have to be a team in the NFC who takes the crown that isn't the Eagles. This is a lock for me because of all of the uncertainty, and 6.5 is still a pretty large number, guys. 7 wins. I think you're giving a lot of respect to some veterans who have already got their rings and made names for themselves in this league, who aren't necessarily going to be like, yeah, I'm going to go to war behind Baker Mayfield, who targets me 4 times a game.
Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely fair. Todd.
Yeah, I'm going the under. I'm gonna spin it a different direction. So I read an article recently about Tristan Wirfs. And Tristan Wirfs is playing left tackle this year instead of right tackle. It's the first time he's played left tackle since high school. And he sought therapy to get mentally prepared to play left tackle this year. And I think when you're dealing with a position change, and Tristan Wirfs is arguably a top 3 most athletic offensive lineman in the NFL right now. But when you're trying to prepare yourself to get into a position where you're going to be on a losing team and protecting a quarterback that you don't know who it's going to be, the psyche gets a little mixed up, and things don't start. Nothing's firing on all cylinders, and I get concerned when I think about a guy like Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask throwing the ball 30 times a game, because let's face it, fellas, it's Rachaad White. That's your running back, and he's not built to take the load. He's not a guy that you're going to hand the ball off to 30 to 35 times a game. So they're going to have to throw the ball. And, Mike Evans and Godwin are going to be as good as the quarterback that gets them the ball. And I just don't see it happening. I see Baker Mayfield making a ton of mistakes. I see Kyle Trask, a guy that a year ago was being talked about as not knowing the quarterback not knowing the playbook after 3 weeks of the preseason. And that's very concerning to me that's a guy that you're thinking about handing the ball off to start week 1, a guy that isn't comfortable with the playbook. So I'm going under here. I wanted to lock it so bad, but I like the Saints winning the division more than, somehow Tampa Bay sneaking out 7 wins.
No, fair enough. Corey.
Yeah, going for the clean sweep here, taking the under for the entire division. I'm taking like Aaron said, seven. That's a lot, guys. And just one of the points here that we've already kind of made, but in a different way. Talking about guys at the trade deadline, are these guys going to get traded to a team that isn't going to be in the Caleb Williams lottery, which is exactly what the Buccaneers will be?
For sure.
Corey, I got to ask you though, do you actually believe all 4 of these teams are going to go under, or is it a numbers game and you'd rather go 3-1?
If I had to bet, if I'm looking at them independently, I think yes, they're all those. I would take all the unders on those rather than the overs. Do I think a lot? If I could, what I would actually do is probably sell half a win on New Orleans and take the 9 on the over on that, because I think a 9 makes sense there. But at a 9.5, I'm taking the under. So just an example. But yes, I honestly think that all of those unders could absolutely hit.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't see any hope in Tampa this year. It's been a tough fall since Brady came and won them the championship. I think they sold the farm for that year, and now they're paying for it. And this is just the repercussions of your actions. They're going to have to rebuild. And this isn't going to be the year that they win 7 games. That's too tall of a task, especially for
Is
Baker
Todd
Mayfield,
Bowles
who's
still
got a
coaching this
career
team?
losing record.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Baker Mayfield is 31-38 as a starter. So that does not bode well for.
I can see a Lovie Smith situation happening in Tampa Bay, fellas.
Where they just win the last game of the season.
Todd Bowles just blows it for Tampa Bay. It's just one of these walking out the door with.
Can we talk about how much of
his
an
back
energy
pocket.
Lovie Smith is though for doing that? What a
Absolute gangster.
Yeah. Oh no, Tampa Bay has to draft Drake May. Oh no.
All right. So there were only 3 overs taken in that entire division between the 4 of us.
That's smart. Corey and I are the smartest of the 4 here.
So.
And we were unilateral on 2. Atlanta and Tampa Bay, we had the under on both. Everybody.
Yeah. Wow. Everybody had the under on both. So, all right. NFC West. Let's move on. Let's move on to our boy Kyler Murray and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
This is kind of sad.
Give me it.
4.5 games. 4.5 games. 4.5 games. One more time. 4.5 games. Arizona Cardinals. Over under. Corey.
Yeah. So our rule typically in this program is don't bet on the birds after you cut the bird. Don't bet on the red bird after you cut the bird. This year, the rule is just don't bet on the Cardinals to win a game. This team is hot fucking garbage, and their only prayer. Well, they had 2 prayers. One retired last year, and the other one is debilitated, being seen wearing sports bras on the sideline, which whatever, man, that's cool. They got to do something about that, right? They got to change that. Yeah, the catapult. They got to do something about it. But or they don't, whatever. We're welcoming and all. But dude, Arizona's gonna be bad. They're gonna be really bad. 5 wins. For reference, the Chicago Bears had 3 last year, and I could wholeheartedly see. So what I'm doing is just like, what does it take to get the first pick? 3 or 4 wins. Well, that would mean the under here, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm taking Arizona under.
Yeah. I'm gonna follow suit, man. There's that team is an absolute dumpster fire. And there's no hope in Arizona this year. They are in complete rebuild mode. They are trapped in this Kyler Murray contract, which is just absolutely insane. They've got to figure something out there. But Todd,
fellas, they have to play the NFC East and the AFC North. That sucks. That sucks. That sucks so bad.
And the Niners twice.
Yeah, that sucks so bad. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wish I could say I feel bad for the Cardinals, but I feel nothing.
I already know where this is going.
I'm taking the under. I would be shocked if they win 2 games this year, boys.
Are you gonna lock this in?
No, I'm not gonna lock it in. I'm just saying I'm looking at the schedule here, fellas. I got my peepers on it right now. And
what winnable games do you see, if any at all?
For the Cardinals, week 1.
Yeah, they could beat, but they have to play the Commanders in DC. It's going to be electric. New ownership, new quarterback.
Yeah, Magic
same
Johnson.
Stadium.
Yeah. Same stadium that people fall out of their chair,
Sam Howell,
and fall into the abyss. Don't sleep on. We'll wait and talk about Sam Howell. Don't sleep on that.
Brian Robinson. Scary Terry.
Maybe they beat the Texans, but I don't know. They play the Texans in Houston.
Could definitely beat the Texans. So when I was going through these, Todd, just to kind of, as you're going through like this schedule looking thing, like basically I was like, what are like the surefire wins? And I just counted those. And then everything, what are like the surefire losses? Count those. And then what are the coin tosses? It was like, yeah, they could win this game. It's the NFL. Absolutely, they could win this game. I give them 50% of those. And that didn't get me 5. Yeah. And so I took the under.
No, that's where I'm at. I'm perusing the schedule here, and you have to play. They got to play the Bears in Chicago. I don't think that
for instance, most of these games, there aren't any that I'm like, yes, they will win that game, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like most of them are coin tosses that they could win, and I'm flipping the coin on those, and that got me to about 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm looking at 3 max.
Hey, Aaron. Anything else?
I mean, so here's the weird thing about looking at it. They're at 4.5. The closest team is at 6.5. There's not a single team at 5.5 on our list here.
Look at it.
Right.
That's weird. That's weird to me. Like I think the Cardinals are bad, but that is like aggressively bad. So I'm gonna take the under, but I'm gonna bet this a different way, and I'll kind of just prelude this. There's a team that I am betting to have the worst record in the league, and it's not the Cardinals. I will take them under the 4.5 because I don't see how I can take them taking more. But
so are you taking the field, or is there a specific team?
There's a specific team.
Are they in this division?
No.
Okay.
Are they in the NFC South?
Go on.
No, we'll keep going. We'll talk about it tonight. But
all right, fair enough.
I don't know that we know that Kyler is out for the whole year. You know what I mean? Like
he's out. So he is out right now. He is out for at least the first 6 weeks. They're going to put him on the PUP list to start the year. So think,
of course,
6 weeks off the rip.
Yeah, and of course that would be going against after the
happens after Thanksgiving. Yeah,
I know. Listen, I'm sticking with the under here, but I'm very, very tempted to take the over. This is one I'm not putting any money on.
Yeah, there's nobody. DeAndre Hopkins is gone, fellas. Don't forget. I don't even actually. I gotta.
Oh, we know.
I gotta go back and look here. I don't even know who is their offensive. Who's their best offensive weapon?
Zach Ertz,
James Connors. No, he's gone now.
Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, Marquise Brown. Yeah,
Connors 7 games a year.
Connors is gone, isn't he?
No, James Connor's still there.
Yeah, James Connor's still there.
He's chilling.
Okay.
Do his
Okay.
thing.
Yep. So we have
All right.
James Conner, Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch, and Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz, I mean, no slouch, right?
No slouch.
Hollywood Brown, no slouch.
All three of those wide receivers
Who's
are
their- who's
5'10" or less.
Second string quarterback.
Colt McCoy still re-signed him. He got a 2-year deal last
Dude,
year.
good for him, man. Like this
That
that's
lasted a lot longer.
now
than I
here's
thought
a
he was going
guy,
to.
here's a guy that came into the league, right? Written off immediately for height issues and has really turned this into a decade and a half career. That's phenomenal.
Him and Chase Daniels both made a ton of money being career backups.
Best job on the planet, right? Can't argue
Yeah.
it.
So real quick before we move, because
Yeah.
one way, if you really want to attack this, because again, I don't like the juice on the under, just take the Cardinals at plus 400 as the last winless team.
Ooh,
I did that.
That's smart.
I like it.
All right, moving on.
Huh.
We're gonna head out to LA. Tez, if you're in the building, this one's for you. We've got the LA Rams at 6.5 games. Aaron, lead us off. Over under.
I hate this one.
It's a tough
I don't.
one.
I have no idea what to. What is it? 6.5, right?
6.5.
I have no idea what to expect from Stafford. Of course, there's still really good guys on this team. There's a lot of hype around Cam Akers coming into the season. Of course, we know about Cooper Kupp, but even that, there's some injury concerns coming back from last year. Aaron Donald's still a human being, and he's on the roster. Sean McVay is
Still breathing.
You know, I think the Rams at 6.5. I'm going to take the over. I don't love it, but I can just see. I think the Rams are going to be competitive enough with enough still talented players on their roster. And I think last year was so bad. Call it the Super Bowl hangover, call it whatever you want. I think this number is a little bit low. If it was 7.5, I'd clearly take the under. Again, Vegas is very good at what they do. I think this defense still has some breath to it. And again, previewing this entire NFC and just talking about the NFC as a whole, guys, some teams are just going to have to win games. I can project this all I want, but I keep coming back to the fact of, all right, let's look at some coaching. And I look at the Rams at 6.5 and I'm 55-45 on the over. So I just got to take it. I don't love it. I don't love either number. Again, this is not somewhere I'm parking my money. But for the sake of the exercise, I'm going to take the over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock the over here. I think 6.5 is extremely low. You got to think like interdivision games. They're gonna take both games from the Cardinals. I strongly believe that. I don't see any way in which the Rams don't beat the Cardinals twice. They'll probably split with the Seahawks. That's at least 3. Can they find 4 more? I think they can find 4 more out there somewhere. Especially with Aaron Donald on the field. So. I'm locking in the over here. I think they win at least 7. Todd.
I don't agree.
That's why I passed it to you, sir. Go ahead with
I don't
your
agree.
disagreements.
And it's all. And listen, I hear Aaron saying someone has to win games. That doesn't mean that they have to win 7 games, though, right? Like teams are going to win, right? I feel confident that they're not going to be close to 500. I listened to Sean McVay in an interview earlier this week talking to Ryan Clark and Fred Taylor and Channing Crowder, and he gave so many neutral answers when they were asking him about the Rams. He talked about Matt Stafford 3 or 4 times, like, I love having Matt Stafford on the roster. That's it. He said that he said that at least twice. I love having Matt Stafford on the roster. Didn't say anything about what he brings to the table, what the offense looks like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Said the same thing about Aaron Donald. Phil, I think that they're just trapped in all the money they invested to get the Super Bowl win, and they're just kind of in this hell right now where they haven't. There's nothing kind of to look forward to for the Rams. It's just we're stuck for a couple of years with them just being not good. And that's why I'm taking the under here. Again, they still have to play the AFC North and the NFC East. I don't know if they may win one of those games, and it's maybe the Commanders. That's the only game I see them winning.
Aaron, can I get a hand check on you real quick? What are you doing over there, buddy? Okay, I was like you're either doing one of three things: opening that bourbon bottle,
I thought he was cracking walnuts,
loading a new Jewel, or a magazine of a 9mm. So I was just making sure that it was.
I quit the Jewel. I could.
I thought he was cracking walnuts over there.
Corey, you're the last one.
Get a handshake, man. I just care about check on your boys.
That's double up.
I'm taking the under. I think this is another team that is going to be in the Caleb Williams lottery. I think that's the plan long term for this franchise. And here's the other deal. I hate the opponents for the NFC West. They have the AFC North and the NFC East. That's a tough track. That is a tough track. And I'm not saying that like the NFC East is going to be the NFC beast that they were last year. We'll get to them in a little bit. But I think the AFC North absolutely is. And that's a juggernaut, let alone with the fact that they got to play San Francisco twice. They got to play Seattle twice. I don't think that they win those games. I think very plausible to me that this team gets swept by both San Fran and Seattle. I think they could definitely get swept by the AFC North, and they probably split with the NFC East. Let's just take it at that. So that being said, I'm going to lean towards the under here. I do think that it's a question mark, right? Like I think this team is a massive question mark, but one of the things that I'm not questioning is how bad that offensive line is. And what I am questioning, Matthew Stafford's durability throughout the season, his willingness to maintain the pain for what? I've reached the pinnacle. You're Matthew Stafford. You've reached the pinnacle. Yeah. What else is there for you to really do now? He's got young kids, preserve the body. I can definitely see that being
collect them checks, boy.
Yeah, being his mindset. Absolutely. I did what you brought me here to do. Let me collect the checks, and we'll get you a lottery pick. Right?
Purely hypothetical to throw out to you guys.
Sure.
Would the Rams trade Stafford for Goff right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a funny question, but yes.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, Jared Goff is he played some really good football last year. So
and flip him
I was
on the
happy
market,
for him.
let Hendon Hooker take that.
All right. Well, let's move on to the best team in this division, hands down. San Francisco 49ers. Todd leads off 10.5 games over under.
All right. I'm gonna go through a list of names here. Christian McCaffrey, dog.
Oh.
Nick Bosa, dog.
Oh.
Fred Warner, dog.
Oh.
They didn't get any worse, boys. They didn't get any worse.
Debo Samuel,
dog.
Brandon Ayuk,
dog.
George Kittle,
Dre Greenlaw, dog. George Kittle, dog. They didn't get any worse, boys. They didn't get any worse.
Purdy.
I don't give a fuck if Nick Bosa gets fined $3 billion. They're gonna waive that fine, and he'll be out there week 1 with a big fat contract.
What's the fine gonna be? Oh, not showing up.
Yeah, so it's after this week. It's over $50,000 a day. Jaden, thanks for liking the stream, brother. Appreciate you.
What up, Jaden? What up?
But the Niners are smart, and they said once he makes his contract deal, we'll waive it all. That's not a big deal. We don't care. We want to win.
Yeah,
and I think that's where we stand, boys. It's funny to look at the depth chart right now and see Brock Purdy as the starting quarterback in week 1. I think that's hilarious. But I'm saying it purely as you get rid of Jimmy G to give the ball off, or you put Jimmy G in a backup role to give Trey Lance the ball, and then Mr. Irrelevant turns into the guy that gets you, basically assists you along the way to get to the NFC Championship. I'm not going to say that Joe Flacco won the Ravens the Super Bowl, right? That's a crazy statement to make. That doesn't make any sense. Brock Purdy didn't get the Niners to the NFC Championship. He just made sure they got the ball in the end zone.
He didn't like
keep
them make it so they didn't get there. Yeah, he did a good job. Yeah.
He is a preventative measure, right? Because this Niners defense is still top 2.
Sure.
What's the over under again, Bobby? I'm sorry. I was too busy thinking about all the dogs on this roster.
10.5. 10.5.
Too many dogs. I'm taking the over here, boys, and it's just based on solely that they're in the second worst division in the NFC, and
Cap.
They have the opportunity to split in the AFC North, right? I could see them splitting the AFC North. I could see them being the victor in the NFC East. So just by basically using Aaron's math, if someone has to win games, somebody has to win games. It's going to be the Niners. I'm locking it in.
Yeah, if you use Aaron's math, you didn't make it through middle school. I'll tell you that right now,
buddy. we're all Mac educated here. We all got the same type of collegiate education too.
All right, Todd locked in the over 10.5. Corey, let's move on to you.
Yeah, looking at the depth chart and you're seeing Brock Purdy as the number one quarterback. I tell you, Todd, one guy that didn't think that was funny is Trey Lance. And are we ready to say that is one of the worst trades ever made, the move up and all they gave up to go get Trey Lance? Yes, Kyle Shanahan is the quarterback whisperer. We can go ahead and say that. But are we ready to say John Lynch hasn't really done? Go ahead.
I'm going to stick with Ricky Williams, the entire draft being taken for him for this.
Sure. No. I mean, I'm sure. But in recent history, that's a pretty bad one, guys.
That's a
pretty bad one. So what? Trey Lance is going to get traded at some point in this trade deadline when you've got a fringe playoff team that needs a quarterback, and they're going to get a quarter of the return on that investment, if not less, than what they gave up for him. So, yeah, bad news Bears. That being said, Todd already went through that roster, man. They are absolutely loaded to the teeth. I think there's going to be two teams with double-digit wins in this conference. I think the San Francisco 49ers are one of them. I am taking the over, and I am also locking it in.
Is that a lock for both of you guys?
That is a lock for both of us, and let me go ahead and take this a step further. San Francisco 49ers will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have much to add here. Over, easy decision. Aaron.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that this is Corey and Todd's first overs taken. I think that's fairly interesting for you both to lock it there. Guys, I'm taking the under. I'm fine with everything you guys just laid out in terms of the roster. I completely understand that. There are some dogs on this roster, but let's also take a look.
He's a Browns fan. He knows dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Roof. There are 3 teams in the league that all have over-unders of 11.5. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a team that is right there at that step below it at 10.5. And for the 49ers to be considered in this upper echelon with so much question marks being around the most important position in sports, I'm just not comfortable taking the 10.5. Do I think the 49ers can win 10 games, win this division? Absolutely.
Aaron, you have repeatedly on this program, okay, I'm going network news on you here. On this program, you have sat there and said multiple times that it doesn't matter what quarterback they trot out because they've got Kyle Shanahan. He's a quarterback whisperer. They can put anybody out there.
Corey.
So go ahead.
So
Aaron.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I bet.
Kyle Shanahan has coached the San Francisco 49ers for 6 years now. Let's go through his record. 6-10, 4-12, 13-3, 6-10, 10-7, 13-4. He's gone over 10.5 twice in his 6 years. I think I'm starting to get to the point now where I think we're talking too much about Kyle Shanahan. Last year was without a doubt an absolutely phenomenal season for them. The Christian McCaffrey part of it, I think, brought some juice to him. I'm going to zag on this one.
Wow.
I'm going to zag on this one.
He is from the Hugh Jackson tree, so that makes sense.
He's a Nepo baby.
No, he's from the Sean McVay tree as well, is he not?
I mean, he's from his dad's tree, if we're being honest.
His dad's balls also.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Science proves that. Yeah,
that's true. It's true.
I'll ride this one on an island and
read it once.
Be the only under here
in a book.
60% of the time, every time's accurate. All right.
Can I just say something?
Of course, this is a podcast.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Todd,
I missed you.
Really
Don't miss me over here, okay?
I'm having a good time. Greg, thanks for liking the stream.
Dude,
what up,
you
Greg?
Feel the football in the air.
Greg, good thing you're here. We're getting ready to talk Seahawks, baby.
Perfect timing for Greg to stop in.
It's like he almost knew we were getting ready to talk about the Seahawks.
Come on, Greg.
All right. Let's see here. Aaron, I'm gonna have you lead this one off.
What do we got? 8.5?
Did I have you lead one off yet? I'm losing track of who I've had lead
off.
What?
Let it rip, Tater Chip. Aaron, get in there.
All right, Aaron,
8.5
8.5 games, Seattle.
Yeah,
Or over
I'm locking the over here.
Wow.
I think Geno Smith proved something to me last year that
we just got done talking about balls, and this man has a huge set.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, let's face it. I'm the one without a lock here. I had to do it.
That's true.
I think
this pick.
I don't know if it's because they're just hanging out in the Northwest without any cities around them, and people just want to forget about this Seattle Seahawks team and what they did last year. When I think we all took the under last year.
Kendra,
right?
thanks for liking the stream.
I mean, they were better without Russell Wilson. I'm looking at a roster with DK Metcalf. Let's face it, guys. Lockett is probably the most underrated receiver consistently in the league, and they just took Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think this offense is going to stir the drink for this roster. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to win the division. 9-7 feels really, really good, especially if you guys are all sitting here telling me that the Rams are going to be bad. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I took the over on them. We all think the Cardinals are going to be fucking crap. I'm a little bit less on the 49ers than you guys are. And Bobby, I'm sorry to do this, but Pete Carroll has consistently kind of been a pretty good coach up there. And I think
his
last
birthday's
year
coming up too, Bob.
Yeah. And
Bobby is
Listen, guys, I think the Seahawks team is being slept on a little bit. Again, I'm not saying they're running away with this division by any means, but I think they're going to hold their own for the entire season. Again, I keep looking out at the NFC landscape, and I really, really like what the Seahawks did last year. I believe in Geno Smith. If Kenneth Walker can stay a little bit healthy, I love the JSN draft pick. I think they just decided, hey, let's just take a position of strength and make it a luxury. And they really, really did that. I think JSN could also be the offensive rookie of the year.
Wow, Corey.
Dude, I'm right with you, Aaron. I'm absolutely with you. If I didn't already lock San Fran, if I could have two locks in this one, I absolutely would, which is why I don't think that the NFC West is the second worst division in this conference right now. And I think the Seahawks are legit. I'm not necessarily saying that Geno is going to be the guy that kind of leads them there, but when you're talking about that wide receiver core, I'm looking around and thinking this could be the second best wide receiver core in the NFC. I'm talking about. I think they could have a better wide receiver core than San Francisco, obviously second to only Philadelphia. But
I'd say outside of the Bengals, is there a better trio?
Is there a better trio? Tough to say. Tough to say that there is. It really honestly is. But the only caveat with that is that we haven't seen what JSN is able to do yet. But on paper, sure.
We'll run back that Rose Bowl tape, baby.
Cool.
Cool.
2 years ago. 2 years ago, but that's fine. Let's talk about it.
But hey.
You're talking about Michael fucking Thomas, dude.
All right, Corey, you taking the over or the under here?
I'm taking the over, and Pete Carroll's birthday is September 15th, Bobby. Just remember that.
I already forgot it. Todd.
Rob is equally as excited as I am about all of us being back together. It's a beautiful thing, fellas. It's a beautiful thing. Look, I think when Bobby and I put together the least best to best, I was weighing very heavily that the bottom half of the NFC West is so bad that the top of the NFC West is it doesn't measure to the poor performance of the rest of the NFC West. Guys, you're not wrong. I'm talking shit about Jackson Smith and Jigba here, but 2 years ago he was the best wide receiver in college football.
Yep.
And you look at all the tape, all the audio, all the bullshit that everybody's put out about him, and the dude hasn't lost a step. And I'm very, very excited to watch him in the NFL. I don't think Aaron's super far off from saying that he's the offensive rookie of the year. I don't think he's far off.
One point I forgot to make here, guys. Biggest fantasy grab that you can have right now, Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is going like
always.
Tyler Lockett is going like 5th round, which is insane. Absolutely insane.
He's been the most consistent fantasy receiver over the last like 4 or 5 seasons.
Surefire thing, guys.
For a low value pick, yeah. I agree with
absolutely.
You.
Sorry, Todd.
No, you're good. Offense, explosive, right? We're talking about an offense that's going to score a ton of points. They did it last year. I almost agree with Aaron that I think Geno Smith does something similar. I think Geno Smith has earned the contract that he received this year. I just don't see him exploding the way that he did last year. I don't see it. And that's solely based off of history. right? I'm putting that on history. I'm not putting that on anything else.
Yeah,
But
Tyler
defense-
Lockett hasn't been under 8 touchdowns since 2018.
Right. But fellas,
crazy.
defense didn't get much better. Defense didn't get much better.
You don't need. Honestly, I mean, yeah, you need a defense to like contend for a Super Bowl. You don't need a defense to win 9 games, like a top tier
Right.
defense.
You're right. So it's 8.5, right? That's where we're at.
Yeah.
8.5's the line.
I'm taking the over because they're going to go 9-7. They're going to be in the cusp of the wild card here.
This is a
That's where I
team that's
stand.
going to have a winning record. Exactly.
Yeah.
So-
I'm with you on that. When you have, if I'm thinking a 17-week schedule, I'm putting them on the right side of the odd week schedule.
Fair enough. I'm actually going to take the under here, and it's
I'm
not
having so
because
much
I don't-
fun.
and it's not because I don't think that they're a very talented team. Offensively, I think they're fantastic, but as you had previously mentioned, they have to face the NFC East and the AFC North, and that's a gauntlet. And I don't know if that defense is going to stack when you're playing these high volume teams, like the Eagles, like the Bengals, teams like that have these high powered offenses. I could see them going 8-9 and still winning the wild card. I think 8 games is the right number. I don't think they lose. I don't think they go any less than that. It's either going to be 9-8 or 8-9, one way or the other. I'm going to fall short of that and take the under here with the Seahawks. Also, fuck Pete Carroll.
It's so fun. Before we move off of Pete Carroll, though, because I had to pull up his record. He's basically like the Mike Tomlin of the NFC, dude.
Yeah, dude. He's
He just keeps. He has
This
had
is the
one,
year.
dude, since 2012. He's had one losing season, and this was the same reason I took the Steelers last year as the over.
How can you compare him to Mike Tomlin when he's never had a losing season if he's had one?
oh my god.
How do I compare him?
He looks at both of
I
them.
just did. It was pretty easy. I went back to 2012. You remember when things were good and shit?
Okay. Well, let's move on. Rob, this one's for you. We're moving to the NFC North.
Oh boy.
And we're starting out with the Chicago Bears. Bob with the terrible take. Thanks, Greg. Anyways,
Nice.
we got the Chicago Bears. This is going to be a fun division to watch, I think, this year. Chicago Bears, 7.5 games. Corey, over under 7.5.
Oh boy. This is one of the
Did we lose him?
I think this is the
Just for a
division.
Core?
We lost you for a second, buddy. You're going to have to come back. Yeah,
Okay.
well,
All right.
yeah.
Start over.
Okay. This is one of the biggest quandaries in the NFC. I think this is this division, not just the Bears. I think the NFC North is the biggest question mark. This is the division that is the most up for grabs. You've got the sexy team right now in Detroit. You've got the team that is getting a ton of traction right now because of the Bears, and Justin Fields is apparently moving up as a top tier quarterback, which that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But then you've got Minnesota, whose defense is terrible, and yet they still lucked into 12 wins last season. Then you've got Green Bay, first season without Aaron Rodgers. What is Jordan Love? We don't know. Lots of question marks around this division as a whole. The Chicago Bears, however, I think they did a really good job getting better on defense. I think they did a really good job giving probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league for Justin Fields and DJ Moore. And I actually really like what they have available at running back as well. I love Khalil Herbert. I don't know about you guys, but
You do.
I think this dude is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
You said he was better than David Montgomery last
He
year.
is. He is better than David Montgomery. He is absolutely better than David Montgomery. Hasn't gotten the reps. Why? Because David Montgomery had all the cash around him. But that I honestly believe that Khalil Herbert has the ability to be one of the better running backs in this entire division. Obviously, there's a lot of gaps to be filled in there, but with Dalvin Cook being gone. So that being said, boys, the Bears are going to win 8 games at least. At least. And I'm locking it in. I'm locking it in. The Bears over and I'm locking it in. I'm just telling you, I'm not saying that this team is going to win the division, but they're going to win at least 8 games. Justin Fields took a step. I'm not ready to put him in that top tier yet. I'm seeing a lot of bullshit on Twitter about how Justin Fields is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Stop it. Stop
Who's
it.
saying that?
Oh, it's out
Fake
there,
blue
buddy.
checks?
It's out there, buddy.
It's not
Fuck
blue
'em.
checks anymore. It's X's.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
Whatever,
I haven't. You know what? I have no app set to update. I still have Twitter. I just want you to know that.
Me too. Show him, Aaron. Can we show him?
Yeah, we can show 'em.
Hold on, let me hide Grinder.
I don't have Twitter anymore.
Yeah, let me hide Grinder.
Twitter. Right there. Right there. Forever and always, baby. Forever and always. Anyway.
We see it.
Yeah.
I bet they don't on the podcast.
So the biggest thing for me, Justin Fields continuing to get better. He's already the best Ohio State quarterback that's ever played in the NFL. Bar was set pretty low there, but he could end up being the best quarterback that's ever played for the Bears without too much more work to be done.
That's a low bar too. Jay
I
Cutler's
know,
the best ever, right?
I know. He is their passing leader, and Jay Cutler at 24,000 yards. Just so
that's crazy.
God,
somewhere in that
Cutler.
one.
But no, I think if the Bears can let Justin Fields play the way that he played towards the end of last season, I don't see any world in where they don't win at least 8. I think he's very talented. He's very mobile. He kind of fits into this new age quarterback scheme where he's got some good arm strength. He's able to run the ball effectively and get into the end zone when he needs to. So I'm taking the over here. They win at least 8.
Let me also be clear. They can win 8 games, miss the playoffs, and Justin Fields can be an MVP candidate. Let me just throw all of those things. All of those things they're not mutually exclusive.
No, absolutely. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and Corey, you kind of touched on it there. I very early at the end of last year, I took Justin Fields as an MVP at plus 3,000. I think you can get it at about plus 2,000 now. I'm playing both sides, so I always come out on top. I have the Bears under here, guys. Let's just not forget about the fact that I know that the Panthers picked it, but the Bears had the first pick in the draft this year.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure did.
You're asking for a team to go from 3-14 to 8-9. That's a 5-win jump in one calendar year. I'm not saying it can't be done. I haven't seen enough out of Justin Fields as a passer. I saw the stat from the preseason game. That's great. That was the receivers doing all.
What were the air yards? Yeah, -3 air yards. Yeah,
right. I am not there yet with the Bears. I love what they got out of trading out of the first pick, and if I could, preemptively take the over on them for next year, just knowing what they got out of the draft, I think they're getting there. Listen, Bears winning 5 or 6 games, 7 games this year. That's better than last year. Let's get a walking in here before we start jogging, especially when you look at the rest of this division where it's like, this is the most middle pack to me, where it's
look at the over unders.
It's like the reverse AFC North.
Lost Aaron there, but
we lost one.
But
right,
I'm just kind of carrying on that point. Aaron is making the point about how packed this division is. Look at the over unders. There are 2 games that separate the best over under from the worst, right?
You're asking for a 5-win jump, and it's just too much. Listen, I like the Bears. I like what they're doing. They're on the right path. I like Justin Fields. It's just too much. It's too much of a leap for me.
Let me ask you,
and I'm not locking it because I don't believe in it. It's too much.
I'm getting the pen here. Let me ask you this, Aaron. If you had every year, there's a team that goes worst to first. If you had to pick one division in the NFC only, not considering any of the AFC teams, I know I'm circumventing the rules, but if you had to pick one, aren't the Bears the best pick?
I would say the NFC South is because they were all within one game. Yeah, but they were all within one game in the NFC South.
So you'd say Carolina
8-9, 7-10 were the only 2 records in the NFC South.
Carolina has a better chance to win the division than the Bears do.
Yeah, because the Lions are much better than the best team that can come out of.
Okay, fair enough.
Todd.
Wow, it's a lot going on there, boys. A lot to unpack there.
Todd's having such a good time.
I'm having a great time. I'm joining Aaron on the under here, boys. I'm joining Aaron on the under here. They still. I'm not 100% certain Justin Fields makes it through a whole season healthy.
Yes, that's the other point.
I'm not certain on that. I don't feel. We've watched running quarterbacks for a very long time try to be healthy for consecutive seasons. We already saw Justin Fields take some time off last year.
Can we just comment on Aaron's country bumpkin ass today? This motherfucker is sipping bourbon and drinking just ice cold water out of a mason jar. Look at this. You ain't got no shoes on either.
Are we sure that's water?
I'm inside, bro. I don't got any shoes on.
It's moonshine. You're drinking just straight moonshine. Sorry, Todd.
That's okay. So I'm leaning on the side of Aaron here. I don't see them going from 3 to 8 wins. I just don't see it happening. Had a ton of capital in the offseason, invested wisely, obviously got a lot in return for giving up that number 1 overall pick to the Panthers. But I just don't see Justin Fields being healthy for a whole season. And I stand very firmly on that, guys. I see him playing for 9 weeks and getting injured, and he's going to miss 2 or 3 weeks here and there. And look, it's PJ Walker, and he understands the offense, and he's mobile, he's athletic. But the gap from Justin Fields, the best quarterback from Ohio State to play in the NFL, to PJ Walker, the best quarterback in the NFL to play from Temple, is so big that you don't win games there. You just don't win games. So I'm taking the under here.
Right. Interesting comment just rolling in here. The Lions may wreck the Bears' dreams. Having said that, Fields is also the smartest guy and best athlete to play QB in this division. What are your thoughts, guys? Who wants to take this one?
Best athlete, fine. I'm taking it off.
Smartest
Kirk
guy?
Kirk Cousins is the smartest.
Oh, yeah, Kirk Cousins, duh. Yeah, I'd take Kirk, yeah.
Yeah, I'd take Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
But that's how forgettable he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy was on a Netflix show. We forgot about him just for a little.
It's like, yeah, I like to paint these figurines here in my spare time and do jigsaw puzzles. And
I would definitely agree that Justin Fields is definitely the most athletic.
Oh, not even, yeah, no question.
So I don't think there's any world where anybody can.
I mean, let's see Jordan Love for a full season. I'm not taking it, but I'm just saying that's the only other argument.
Same style quarterback.
All right, well, let's move on to
the
aforementioned team, the Detroit Lions. Shout out to our girl Rach. Lions 9.5 over under. Todd, lead us off.
Oh shit! I knew you were gonna lead with me here.
Yep.
This is one of my biggest on the fence teams, fellas.
This is a young one for me.
I get really nervous talking about the Lions because I'm afraid it's a flash in the pan. I'm really nervous about that.
I'm locking the over here.
Whoa!
Love it.
That's so crazy.
Locking the over.
That's so crazy. Oh my god! I'm over here sweating bullets about the Lions, and Bobby just.
That's the bourbon, dude. That's not the Lions.
I'm not drinking at all.
Talking to Todd. I'm talking to Todd.
Yeah. Oh man. Golly.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the best rookie running back that we've ever seen. For this Lions team.
Whoa. Pause that.
Barry Sanders.
Okay. I
think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be something this league hasn't seen.
I don't even think he's going to be the best rookie running back.
I think he is. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has the talent to be that, and I think there's a lot of weapons on that offense. It's going to be extremely dynamic.
Good. So, I think he's going to be very good. That's just how
I like what I saw out of Jared Goff last season. He was able to move the ball. Obviously, they had one of the most high-powered offenses in the league. The defense didn't get worse.
Got better.
The offense got better as well. So
could it have gotten worse?
Good point, but they got better. Anyway, no, I think 9.5. I mean, you got to think what they did last year. What did they win? 8-9 games last year?
They did go 9-7 last year.
Yeah, they went 9-7. So 2 games swing. A 1-game swing.
Yeah.
They just need one more game on top of what they did last year, and they're better. I think this is an easy slam dunk here, guys.
Gosh, it makes me nervous. I get nervous thinking about a team. I get nervous thinking about a team that has a history of fumbling the bag. Right? That's where I stand right now.
They got a team of glass eaters now, man. It's all glass eaters. They've had a full off season.
Oh fuck. I don't know, man. I'm taking the under. I'm taking the under. I got to take the under here. And that's solely based on I just don't have the confidence. Look, we've talked about it. I love Dan Campbell, right? There's no argument here. Riley Town Sports loves Dan Campbell.
Facts.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to do very fine in the NFL. I don't see him, and I'm not stepping on your toes, but I just don't see him as this perennial running back in the NFL. I think that he's overvalued based on being drafted as high as he did. I think people have kind of overvalued what he actually is as a running back. And, I think,
he got passed on by 12 different teams.
Yeah, he should have gotten passed on by another 17 more. Corey and I talked very aggressively on, like, if the Bengals get him at 29, like, this is great.
Yeah.
Right. And that was even a stretch at that point in time. And, Phil, I don't know. The NFC North is just really up for grabs for me. We don't know what Jordan Love is. We just talked about the Bears being on one side or the other of being an 8-9 win team. I think the Lions are kind of in the same boat, guys. I think this is the closest division in the NFC. And I'm resting on my history of understanding football and watching football. And I see the Lions fumbling the bag and going 9-7 again.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, I feel kind of similarly to Todd, at least in his last point there, and I can only equate this to being a Browns fan a little bit, where I have seen so many off-season championships, and this is our years until I actually see it. The smart money is just gonna be on the under until it's not. So that's just the easiest explanation. To kind of dig a little bit deeper. Everything that the Lions did, and a lot of people were like, oh, what a great draft for the Lions, fundamentally is against everything I believe in. You take the second best running back in the top half of the draft. You take an inside linebacker also in the first round. You take a rookie tight end in the third pick of the second round. Rookie tight ends don't show up until year 3. You take a look, they had so much draft capital. You take a safety, fine, whatever. And then you have an early pick in the third round and you take a quarterback who's not going to play this year. And if he does play this year, that's not going to help you at all. I don't see any juice being brought by these guys who are coming in the beginning. Yeah. Is Jahmyr Gibbs going to be a decent fantasy option? Yeah, sure. Probably. Name me the last running back who's made a fucking difference. It just doesn't work that way in the NFL anymore. Yep. And I'm looking at Dan Campbell and I'm seeing, here's the thing. The Detroit Lions getting over this number is because you have a team that actually believes in this guy. I could see it. They really want to do it. They want to play for it. I saw a lot of things. Like we said, I think Jared Goff has an argument to be, maybe a top 3 quarterback, maybe top 2 even in the NFC, which is bananas for me to say. I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight of the division. One of the things I really don't like for the Lions is you start Chiefs Seahawks. I'm high on the Seahawks this year. I obviously I think the Chiefs are going to win that first game. I can just, starting 0-2 never helps, right? We've all seen the stats of teams that start that way that make the playoffs. Yeah, sure. You're playing the NFC South. There's going to be some wins there. 9.5, 10, basically being that number is just a little too much for my blood. I'm going to take the under here on the Lions. But again, this is one I'm not comfortable locking because I could see it falling either side of the number. But again, I'm going to take the pedigree and know that, until the Lions prove me wrong, I have no reason to bet the over.
Corey.
Yeah, I love the Detroit Lions. Let me start by saying that I love the Detroit Lions. I root for them for sure. I root for the Detroit Lions. We are cut from the same cloth. Bengals fans, Browns fans, Lions fans, Bills fans. We're all cut from the same cloth. What is going on in the chat right now? Ryan coming in with some rankings right now. Ryan, what's up, buddy? So here's the thing about the Lions.
Holy shit!
I think
this is a book. I love it.
Yeah, and it's distracting.
I'll break it down in a second. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I love Dan Campbell. I love the energy that they've brought there, but I'm kind of falling into the same field as Aaron right now on this one. Prove me wrong. In the similar sense as last year when we're talking about the Chargers, and we're talking about the Broncos in the AFC West. I said, no, this division runs through Kansas City until proven otherwise. Oh, but Tyreek Hill's gone. Chiefs still won the division. Guess what? They ended up winning the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily think that this Lions offense is going to be as effective as it was last year. I've got questions on that. TJ Hawkinson isn't there anymore, guys. That Lions offense was more effective in the beginning of the season of that season. The defense started picking up a little bit of the slack towards the end of the season. Now they did get better on defense. We can go ahead and say that they absolutely got better on defense. CJ Gardner-Johnson, a great ad. Who they get? Cam Sutton. That's who I was going to ask Bobby who they get from the Steelers. Absolutely another good ad. They needed it in the secondary. As Aaron mentioned earlier, could it have been worse? Probably not. I like Sam Laporta. I think Sam Laporta is a great ad for this team. Yeah. But as you said, Aaron, it takes a minute for rookie tight ends to develop. And I honestly think he's probably one of the better route runners. Todd and I talked to him about him ad nauseum doing our draft prep, that if he fell to the Bengals, that we wanted the Bengals to be able to go out and grab him. Absolutely. Yeah. Think he's going to be a great ad. Jahmyr Gibbs, my comp for Jahmyr Gibbs coming into the draft was Marshall Faulk. I mean, that's not a slouch, guys. But as Aaron made the point earlier, running backs don't win you Super Bowls. They don't. It's not true. They don't at all. Jerick McKinnon was the top producer on the Chiefs last year, guys. Jerick McKinnon.
I think that's a different argument, though. We're not talking about winning Super Bowls.
We're not, but what I'm talking about is winning football games. They're playing against the AFC West. I think they go 1-3 against the AFC West. I could absolutely see them going 3-3 in their division. Absolutely. I could absolutely see that.
And I'm on your side here, but we have seen running backs help teams win divisions. That is true. I mean, you can talk about Derrick Henry, you can talk about Adrian Peterson, Todd Gurley. It has happened. And again, that's just devil's advocate to your point, because I agree with the Super Bowl.
So you literally just mentioned 3 of the top running backs of the last 10 years, though. Let's be
100%. But when we're talking rookie running backs are typically, they're the most healthy. They haven't gone through the gauntlet yet.
Sure,
you're going to get a lot of juice there. And again, I'm on your side.
Time.
This is purely devil's advocate.
Splitting time in the backfield, though. They signed David Montgomery to set $6.5-7 million a year. He's splitting time in the backfield with Montgomery still.
Yeah, I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs' job. And I think David Montgomery is kind of that third down back. That's kind of where I see that going.
Yeah, that's a classic. He's been in our division for 4 years. We like him.
Yeah,
kind of deal.
Give it to him inside the 5. He's going to take it in. That's kind of where I'm at on David Montgomery. David Montgomery's a great pass catcher too, and a great pass blocker as well. That's where I kind of see that third down back. But Jahmyr Gibbs is a great pass catcher as well. I don't necessarily think Jahmyr Gibbs gets lined up in the backfield every single play for the Lions this year. 10 wins just seems like a lot. It seems like a lot to me. And if you start out the season the way you started out last year, which 0-2 is plausible, guys, as Aaron mentioned. Losing to the Chiefs, and then I believe they're going on Seahawks. The road. Seahawks at home.
It's in Detroit. Yeah.
It's in Detroit. That place is going to be rocking. Let's be very clear about that. However, I could absolutely see them dropping those first 2 games. Absolutely see it happening.
So now that we're at an 18-week season, 17 games, you have that wild card game against the similarly seeded team of a different division. So So that's kind of been my push for this exercise. Do I think the Lions are better than the Ravens?
No,
I don't.
I don't either.
Corey, I'm sorry, I missed. Did you take the under here?
I'm taking the under on 9.5. That being said, I think they can still get to the playoffs with 9 wins, and I think that could absolutely happen. Absolutely happen.
Yeah, this is a division that there could be 3 teams that win 9 games, and it all comes down to the splits.
Yeah.
So Bob, and we'll move on here, but Bob, you're the only one here on the over for Detroit. How much of this is just the void of Aaron Rodgers leaving the division?
Good question.
I mean, obviously, I think it has a lot to do with it. I think the Packers got significantly worse this year. But I think 7.5 games for them is a stretch, to be honest. I think that number is way too high personally. But at the end of the day, I think Detroit.
Ride that segue, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to write it here in a second, but I don't want to not mention and talk about Ryan's comment here. He put a lot of effort into it. So
Yeah. Great point.
I at least want us to talk about it. So I was reading through it. I was taking some notes so I could kind of get it out here in a quick and efficient manner here. Basically, just talking about Justin Fields, saying he is, without his legs, he's an average quarterback. QBR 54 out of 100, ranked 17, below average. Basically, his comparison is Marcus Mariota. His passer rating is 85.2. He mentioned what consists of passer rating, which is completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdown percentage, and interception percentage. Interception to touchdown ratio, 17 touchdowns, 11 picks. Two of his receivers are in the top 10 for separation, between them and their defender. Cole Kmet's tied for the highest at 4.4, and Darnell Mooney's at 3.6. And just basically said that he struggles to hit targets, that are open. So, we have some questions on, obviously his accuracy and, his ability to make throws when they need to be made. Basically saying that he's overhyped and he's more average than everybody thinks he is. So, Ryan, great comment, man.
Yeah.
There was a lot of information in there.
I think the thing that people are forgetting about Chicago too is they drafted Darnell Wright to play right tackle, and Darnell Wright has the ability to be one of these right tackles that we talk about for a decade plus, right? He was kind of touted as being the most athletic one coming out of the draft. Obviously, the Bears go get him. All the stuff comes out is that he does the wide receiver training going into camp, and rather than doing the lineman training going into Chicago. And I think that Justin Fields gets a lot more accurate with somebody protecting him on the front side, because Justin Fields the last 2 years has had an offensive line built on free agents and lower round picks.
Built on sand.
Yeah. So I think you see that parameter improve for Justin Fields just based on having more time, right? Because we talked about it a lot last year. Justin Fields was just running for his life every week.
Well, I also think that this offensive scheme compared to that of Matt Nagy is drastically better. They've put Justin Fields in a position to where he is able to do things that make him effective, right? And that's using his legs. And again, I made this point when I was talking about the Bears guys. Like, we can't sleep on the fact that they got DJ Moore. Like, this guy is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. He's going to make a difference. He's absolutely going to make a difference.
Yeah, and they locked in Cole Kmet too, right? They extended Cole Kmet. They gave him some more money. I think that's
I love Cole Kmet. Love Cole Kmet.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, what were you telling me to do earlier? Ride the what?
Segue.
Okay. So we were talking about the Lions and why I took the over. Now we're going to talk about the Packers and why I think they're going to be under this year.
Ooh.
I don't have any faith in Jordan Love.
Based on what, though?
He's come in for Rodgers multiple times and just hasn't been as effective as I would think that somebody who's been groomed for as long as he has, he should have been better. I think we can all see the hard knocks and how Zach Wilson is making strides under Aaron Rodgers, but I never saw Jordan Love kind of take those steps. And I just don't think they have enough offensively to compete. And I don't have enough confidence in Jordan Love to say that they're going to win 8 games. So
I'm with you on that, the offensive power or lack thereof for the Green Bay Packers. That being said, I think one of the hardest things in the world to do is just come in cold in the middle of a game and fill in and be effective as a quarterback. That is one of the most difficult things that anybody can do. It takes guys like a Chad Henne, like a Colt McCoy, like a Chase Daniels, these guys that have made careers out of doing that, lucrative careers out of doing that. It's tough. It's tough to do, especially in a guy that has been surrounded by, all of the hoopla. Those are huge shoes to fill, right? Back-to-back MVP, Super Bowl champion. This is a big undertaking, and I don't think the Green Bay Packers organization has done him any favors, keeping suit with tradition as to what the Green Bay Packers have done in terms of adding weapons for their quarterback. They have not made the job easy for Jordan Love. I'm riding with you on this one, Bobby. I'm taking the Packers under 7.5 win totals.
Aaron.
Locking the over, guys. I still think Lambeau is one of the toughest places to play in the country. I think we're underestimating how important it is for a quarterback to sit, learn, and wait. We we saw it with the last guy who did that as well. We saw it with Mahomes. We've seen it with countless quarterbacks where that really does play. Hey, remember Carson Palmer, guys? I know you do.
I know him.
Sat under John Kennedy for a year and got crafty.
7.5. You throw Jordan Love to the Wolves in his rookie year, and I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think they reached on him personally with his skill set, with what he has, and this was part of the reason when we asked the question, who's the most athletic quarterback in the division? Yeah, of course you're going to say,
Justin Fields.
Of course you're going to say Justin Fields. I haven't seen enough from Love to say otherwise. I know he has that skill set. I'm not saying to the same degree. 7.5, 8 wins seems attainable. I think there's still, I liked what I saw out of Christian Watson at the end of the season, even Dobbs a little bit as well. I think the defense still has some guys. I like Aaron Jones. I like the combo of running backs that they have there. This is one of those ones where it's like, do I really think the Packers are going to go 7-10? Yeah, I could see it. I just don't think Jordan Love is going to fall completely on his face. I think they did a really, really good job of, not throwing him in right away. And if you want to talk about the Rodgers thing, like, I think Rodgers has no problem speaking his mind, and he seems to go out of his way to praise the guy a little bit, which is kind of telling to me.
I think Rodgers is a great teammate, terrible person. That's kind of where I land on him.
That's fair.
Perfect description, Aaron.
But I also wanted to make a point. Jordan Love is not the reason that this over won't hit, in my opinion. Like, he's not. It's not because of him. It's because of Matt LaFleur, in my opinion. Let me just leave it at that, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, 8. I'm fine with taking the over because I can believe in a world where the Packers have a losing record. And this still hits, and I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna lock it. I don't feel really comfortable. We were saying I don't really feel comfortable about any of these numbers for this division. I can see wide variance between every 4 teams. Yeah. This is the one I'm most comfortable with, just because of the pedigree of the roster I've seen, or the team in the last couple of years. And I'll take the first year starter with 2 years of sitting under his belt.
Todd.
Yeah, boys, I'm looking through the depth chart here, and I'm looking at the wide receiver and the tight end room, and obviously we have 2 rookie tight ends in Green Bay. And for Jordan Love, regardless of his time in the NFL, what's the guy that's getting big starts is for first full year? Where do they fall? They fall to the tight end, right? They always revert back to the tight end to get out of jail. And I like the 2 running back room. But
Robert Tonyan's at the Bears now, isn't he?
He's gone. Yeah, right. So we're talking Musgrave from Oregon State, Tucker Kraft from North Dakota State, 2 rookie running backs, or 2 tight ends. Yeah, 2 rookie tight ends drafted same round, I believe, or back-to-back rounds. Guys, I think they got to take their lumps. I'm going under here. I think it's 7-10, right? I don't think it's a
Vegas
crazy
did a good
number.
job.
Yeah, so I don't think it's something crazy. I just think that for a guy getting his first full year of starts, there's lumps involved there. And there's situations that you're just not prepared for, or games you have to come back in that you're just not ready to do. And I think that's where the Packers will fall a few times this year.
All right, fair enough. Last team to round out the North. Aaron, you got it here to lead off. Vikings 8.5 games, over under.
I think we've talked ad nauseum about how close the games were last year for the Vikings. And at this point, I almost feel like it's a little overblown. I'm going to take the over here for the Vikings. I think Kirk Cousins is, like we've said, that the NFC quarterbacks aren't necessarily phenomenal. I think Justin Jefferson is just such a difference maker. Now, if he gets injured, of course, this is going to be a way different looking offense. I think, the losing Dalvin Cook isn't really doing much for me. I think their defense is still pretty good, at the very least towards the middle of the pack. This is gonna be the first time I've really ever done this. I'm gonna bet on Kirk Cousins a little bit. I didn't even watch the quarterback.
How many 1 o'clock games?
That's honestly what I was about to try to look up here on the fly.
Give me a second.
I don't even know.
If there was a Hall of Fame for 1 o'clock, he'd be first ballot.
We're looking at a lot. He's got
9. So 9 and 8.
Yeah, I'm taking Kirk here, guys. I'm listen. Somebody has to win this division. Everything is so compact. The Vikings have been fairly mediocrely consistent over the last 3 to 4 years as Kirk Cousins under the helm. 9 wins seems good to me. That's a winning record, 9-8. You tell me right now that that's what the Vikings are going to finish with. Sounds solid. I'm curious because I know Todd is without a lock here. Not to take your job here, Bobby, but I want to throw it to Todd because I'm so curious on which way, because this was the one division as previewing this that I was like, I literally could take a coin flip and I would have been happy.
Todd's going to lock the over.
Todd, what do you got?
Your bet's right. I'm taking the over here, fellas.
I thought so.
Guys, Justin Jefferson is just such a significant game changer that I'm not betting against him. And that's really all this stands for me, is that we're kind of in the position that the NFC North is in, is that I see 2 teams having a winning record and 2 teams having a losing record. I talked about my losers, right? I talked about the Packers and the Bears both being either 7-10, 8-9, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the Vikings fall on the winning side of this division. And I'm looking at the schedule, fellas, and I see them kind of starting slow, right? I see them in like a 2-3, 2-4 start. And then I see a schedule that favors, we're talking about the Kirk Cousins 1:00 start. The schedule favors the 1:00 start for Kirk Cousins as you get into the holidays. And, one of his primetime games is against the Broncos, and we'll talk about him next week. I'm not scared of them at all for Minnesota. And then after that, really, other than Cincinnati and playing Detroit a couple times, the Vikings schedule's fairly simple towards the back end of the year. So I think the Vikings start off slow, and then you see them kind of get into the 7-2, 7-3 end at the end of the year here. So I'm thinking they go 9-8 and somehow are in the mix in the wild card in the NFC because of the disparity of the divisions.
Corey.
I'm taking the over as well. I'm going to talk about this wide receiver core, and I'm not going to talk about Justin Jefferson. I'm going to mention 2 guys that we haven't talked yet and that I think are going to make a significant impact. The first of which is going to be KJ Osborne. I think this guy is going to pop off this year, guys. Looking for him.
Yard guy. He's a bomb guy. He's a bomb guy. You can get him deep downfield, and he's pretty consistent.
So looking at his last 5 games, 5, 10, 3, 7, and 5 catches, 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games of the regular season. Yards per catch, 7, 15, 5, 8, and 23. This guy is somebody that's also available to Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins makes relatively good decisions. Another guy that got in some trouble before the season even started, Jordan Addison. He can make an impact as well. And, of course, let's not forget TJ Hawkinson. I think Aaron made a fantastic point earlier that they're not taking a huge step back with Alexander Mattison being the lead back here. I don't think Dalvin Cook is that significant. I think his new contract with the New York Jets reflects that. Exactly where the market was, not just on running backs, but on Dalvin Cook in general. He's not that big of a guy, big of a market pool. He's getting that contract for a reason. One, health concerns, but also production on the field. They're not what they were when he came out of the league and set it on fire. So if I didn't already lock in the Bears, this would be my next one. I think 9 wins is absolutely attainable for a team that posted 12 last year and didn't get a whole hell of a lot worse. So taking the over on the Vikings. And I do think they win the division again.
I got the Vikings over here. I think 8.5 games is low. I didn't lock this one, but I think this is a good lock if you're going to choose one for this division.
Bobby, I was really hoping you were going to take the under because we would have had the complete opposite of every team.
We would have. That's the only one we.
You guys are big on the skull this year.
All right.
This is the one we'll get wrong for sure.
Right. All right. Last division to round it out here. We got the NFC East. Start with America's team, boys.
Ugh.
The Cowboys. Ugh. Sucks to say it, but we got to say it. Corey, lead us off, man. 9.5 games, over under.
I think this is going to be they're probably third best defense in the entire NFC. The Dallas Cowboys, only second behind San Francisco, Philly, and then come the Cowboys. This defense is going to be loaded. That being said, I don't trust the quarterback. Taking the under.
Fair enough. Todd.
Ooh.
I think
So
9 wins makes perfect sense for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm looking at the schedule. Right? So I'm looking early on in the season, and you have back-to-back weeks in New York, Arizona, New England. Then you have San Francisco, the Chargers, the Rams.
A lot of winnable games.
Yeah. I think you're right. I'm taking the under here. I'm agreeing with Corey here on that's very rare that you and I agree with each other.
Is that a lock for either of you?
No, not a lock for me, but you're right.
I think our lock for the Eagles, guys.
I low key think Tony Pollard's a flash in the pan for the Cowboys. I don't think that he is, obviously. So they give him the franchise tag this year, right? And it's kind of a make or break year for him, coming off a pretty significant injury at the end of last year. And Prescott has 4 very good targets, and you get rid of Dalton Schultz. I think that's an important thing. Dalton Schultz was a key part when he didn't have injuries. I think I agree with. I'm saying it twice in the statement, and I hate it. I agree with Corey again. I just think Dak Prescott's just not a guy that I put my faith in.
I don't either. I put more faith in Kirk Cousins than I do Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to there. So I just think that Dak Prescott's a guy that's going to fail me.
Yeah, I have to disagree with both of you. I think this defense is so high caliber.
They're insane,
and
it's wild.
I may not trust Dak Prescott as far as I can throw him, but I trust Micah Parsons, and I think that man is going to lead this team to over 10 wins. I think they're going to be neck and neck with the Eagles this year. I really do.
I really, honestly, I just feel like they're like I don't know, like the mid 2010 Houston Texans, and like JJ Watt. Like, yeah, Micah Parsons is going to score some touchdowns and like wreck some games, but they're going to win. They're going to win about 9 games and be a wild card team.
But they get to go play the NFC West.
Yeah, that's nice. I don't think that's
I think that they're going to take games from the Giants and Commanders. They're at worst they split those, but they'll probably take 2 from the Commanders. Probably split with the Giants.
Are they at home or on the road against the Seahawks?
That is an excellent question. I do not know. But either way, I think
the interns on that. We get the interns on that, please.
I think 10 wins is very, very attainable, and I know this is frowned upon in Rally Towel Sports, but I'm locking this one in.
Oh, you're locking America's team. Cancel the episode. It's over.
Well, that was fun, guys.
Because I know everybody's gonna lock the fucking Eagles, and I wanted to be different.
I'm not.
So
yeah,
I'm also not locking the Eagles.
Same.
Wow. Then I am blown away. All right, last one on the board. Aaron, who you got over under?
Yeah, it's funny that you guys kept saying how you guys don't trust Dak Prescott, which I don't disagree with. And there hasn't been a single talk about McCarthy.
Yeah, great point, Aaron.
That's the piece I don't.
I was trying to go one football episode with not talking about Mike McCarthy.
Good job, Aaron.
So hard.
I would.
We already brought up Pete Carroll, so I mean, it is what it is.
So the question here is do you believe in the? Because I think we're all gonna pick. I'm just gonna blindly say it. We all pick the Eagles to win this division, right?
Yes.
Who do you believe in more in? Do you believe in the Cowboys or do you believe in the Giants? I think Dayball showed some stuff last year. That's the interesting part. Got some Coach of the Year nods and things like that. But I also hear everything Bobby just said about this defense. And it's the part to me. And listen, I think Pollard's going to pop this year. I think CeeDee Lamb, can potentially have a good year. I think
the offense is strong as long as Dak doesn't throw picks.
Like that's inevitable.
Yeah, this is such a fence-sitting position for me.
9.5 is a perfect line.
I'm taking the over here, guys.
Yeah,
and I hate it because that's me betting on McCarthy. But it was interesting to not hear you guys make that point.
Like the Cowboys could come out 5-0, and then just drop 6 straight.
Right. So, and I was trying so hard not to. I spent 14 of 17 weeks last year just shitting on Mike McCarthy week over week over week. So I'm trying really hard not to get back on that train. But
need to keep
Corey's right.
Fresh
let me just paint a picture.
I think
if they start 3 or 4-0, I have to start shitting on them again because I want things to go that direction.
Let me just paint a picture for you. It's like 6:30. The sun has gone down. It's pretty cold out. The room smells of crockpot chili. You've had about 13 Miller Lights, and it's week 18, and the Cowboys are on the verge of being eliminated from the playoffs, and they need to win 10 games to get in. They have to do it. And Mike McCarthy's cold, fat face is on your TV just looking like this. And they lose. They lose the fucking game. That's what happens. That's what happens every fucking time with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, but it's against the Commanders, so I'll take it.
I don't trust that because they lost to the Commanders last year. Sam Howell beat the Cowboys. Don't forget.
They're due. This isn't roulette.
Sam Howell beat the Cowboys.
This isn't fade the streak.
All right, let's move on, boys. So we're obviously split on that. The Giants, 7.5 games. This is a very, very interesting line. Corey, talk about it.
No, I think the Giants came out last year and created the NFC beast that we saw out of the NFC East, right? Where all these teams were really coming out of the gate pretty hot, and we were like, holy shit, we didn't expect this out of the Giants. But then what'd they do? They fell back to earth. They showed us who the fuck they really are. Can you guys tell me, don't look at online. Name me the top 3 receivers for the New York Giants.
It'll
Slayton's
be
still there?
Campbell, Slayton, and Isaiah Hodgins, right?
Doesn't make my penis move.
Is Sterling Shepard still there?
Doesn't make my penis move.
He tore his Achilles again. He's done.
No, the number 1 receiver is Darren Waller. I mean, he's a tight end. So
that's true.
That tells me all I need to know about the offensive weapons or lack thereof that are there for a mediocre quarterback that they just gave $45 fucking million to in Daniel Jones. Insane management.
For throwing the ball 22 times a game.
Insane. And tripping at the 7-yard line. Guys, the Giants, I like Daboll a lot. I really, really do. But I think this front office has absolutely handcuffed him into taking this team into the next stratosphere, into a team that can actually compete to win divisions, compete for Super Bowls, et cetera, et cetera. I'm taking the under and I'm locking it.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I don't believe in Daniel Jones at all. I think
we said the same thing.
I think Saquon Barkley is
don't.
fairly disgruntled, but he also has a lot to play for. Corey obviously made some great points with the receivers, but Darren Waller is an interesting move to me. I think from a purely fantasy perspective, I like Darren Waller a lot this year. I think he can provide some value in where he's going. The defense is fine. Again, it comes down to the fact of what do you think of Daboll? And I thought he did a really, really good job last year, but I also think he bought himself some goodwill regardless of this season. God, this is the worst number for me.
I think there's somebody off screen pointing a gun at you. So
there really is. This is. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is the number I have the hardest time with because last year I was so adamant about the under, right? And I want to say it was at 5.5 or 6.5. It's not far from where it is now.
8 games is a lot, though.
8 games is a lot, but I could see them squeezing a game out against the Eagles just because it's a division game. I don't think they have the cow. Yeah, I can see it.
We had talked about what is the second worst division in this conference. I think it's this one.
I'm taking the under. I don't feel good about it, though. I want that to be on record.
Todd.
Noted.
Yeah, I'm taking the under because here's your first 6 weeks for the Giants. Cowboys, Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, Dolphins, Bills.
Ooh, they win one of those games.
Yeah, so you start 1-5, and then the last 6 weeks of your season, you play the Eagles twice and the Cowboys twice.
Jeebus, Chris.
Under Under based on schedule alone.
That's
That's
tough.
all I'm basing off of.
Well,
Yeah.
typically that's what we base them off. Yeah, but
Yeah. Well,
The schedule game is so imperfect, and we
we're
all
back
know
to
it.
Corey jerking me off. Yak.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more here. I think not to the jerking off part, but
come on, Bob.
but no, I'm taking the under here as well. I think if there was a team that managed their money like the most poorly that you could have done it this offseason, I think the Giants are right there. With what they gave to Saquon and then obviously what they gave to Daniel Jones, just unbelievable to me. But I understand the Saquon thing. I do not understand Daniel Jones for the life of me. That's not a $45 million quarterback. So under here, I would lock this if I hadn't already locked in the Cowboys. So all right, let's move on to the Eagles. Corey, lead us off. Eagles, 11.5 games. 11.5 games, the largest in the NFC. Over under.
Ooh, okay. I'm taking the over. And that's just based on the fact that I don't like the Eagles got better this offseason, which is insane to say. I think I have a little bit of questions on that secondary. I am concerned about those issues. That being said, I think this offense still remains a juggernaut. I think this offensive line is fantastic. This defensive line is so deep that, as Aaron has mentioned a couple of times, the second line on this defensive line could potentially start for some teams in the NFL. All of those things considered, Jalen Hurts has arrived. He is one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and 12 wins makes sense to me. I think it's right at 12. I think it's a 12-5 season for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they drop a couple in the division and lose a couple of the coin flip games, but overall they're going to roll through the season. Obviously, all of this considering everyone stays healthy and this roster can move through the season as is right now, which we know isn't going to be the case. But that being said, they have the depth to back these things up.
Yep.
So when these injuries do happen, this roster is constructed in a way that it's not going to debilitate them as bad. Guy I'm staying away from a little bit from a fantasy perspective is AJ Brown. Guy I'm really high on is Devonta Smith. Just throwing those two things out.
Fair enough. Todd.
Look at the depth chart, fellas, and
Dogs.
Yeah, right.
A
Georgia.
lot of dogs, but yeah, it's all bulldogs, right? We're talking bulldogs here, but there's a first round pick that's sitting behind a starter in Nolan Smith, and I mean he's been one of the biggest talks of this preseason, right? Is Nolan Smith coming into camp and being athletic, making all these moves, and he has to play behind Hassan Reddick. Right. And then they just went out less than a week ago and signed Miles Jack, who is playing behind a Kobe Dean, who is one of the steals of the draft of the year prior based on his size. So Corey's right. The defense didn't get any worse. Right. We heard about a lot, CJ leaving and a couple other pieces leaving, but they didn't get any worse. And then I'm looking at the offense here and it's all the same. Really, the only difference is you're substituting Miles Sanders for DeAndre Swift, and then the backup to Swift is Rashad Penny, who's a big question mark on health. But I'm taking the over here, fellas.
Yeah.
I again, this is the third time I've agreed with Corey tonight. I don't like it. I agree that the Niners are representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. Everything, all of it.
Yeah.
The Niners.
It feels so much
the
better
NFC
to
in the Super
disagree
Bowl.
with you and be right than it is to agree with you and be right.
But
Yeah, I get that.
the
Fair
Eagles
point.
just have. It's
Should talk to my wife.
It fires on so many cylinders that I can't argue that this defense didn't get any worse. The offense stayed the same. The offensive line is top 2. You got to take the over here.
Yeah. Aaron.
Yeah, guys. I mean, I'll just echo a little bit here. I have the over easy. We're looking at the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Eagles being the only teams that are at 11.5. Don't want to just spoil too much because we have a great podcast coming up next week with what we're going to do the AFCs. But we've all talked about how we're down on the NFC this year because the AFC just has much more talent this year. The Eagles are the only team, I think, in the NFC that we're comfortably saying, what were we talking about with the quarterbacks? Like, all right, obviously Jalen Hurts is number one.
Yeah.
Let's move on to who we think is after this.
Yeah,
the
that's
Eagles
where the
are
debate
just
starts.
exactly. The Eagles are just such a class above the rest of this NFC. I will take the over easily. Of course, there's some injury concerns as there is with every year and every team. But again, just to echo some points, the depth on this roster is just outstanding. It's incredible. I really think there are, Corey, I know I've mentioned it with the defensive line. I think there are other position groups on this roster that I'll take some number twos over, some of what we have going on in Arizona, what we have going on in Tampa Bay, what we have going on in, even who else here, like, Carolina and things like that. I think this team has just been built in such a way, not to mention, we always talk about like the Super Bowl hangover, the teams that, I almost feel like the Eagles have like a chip, especially the way that Super Bowl went down. You look at a guy like Jason Kelce, where this is probably his last year. I think these guys are going to be playing hard. I think they're going to be playing fierce. I think Jalen Hurts is, clearly the best quarterback in that division. And I'll take the best quarterback in this conference in the most important position. I'll take the over on the Eagles.
Yeah, not much for me to add. They got better. Taking the over.
Isn't that wild?
So,
like, when does that happen?
Doesn't.
It's the stars are aligning for the Eagles. If I had to pick one team, preseason,
worst fan base for it to happen to.
Eagles.
Worst fan base. Just absolute fucking garbage fan base. It's Oakland and Philly. Just fucking trash human beings. And then Baltimore.
Oakland.
Yeah, dude, they're crazy. Fucking
Vegas? Or are you just talking about athletics fans?
Well, it used to be Raiders, and then athletics as well, dude.
It's all going to be Vegas by 2027.
When you talk to people here in Detroit that like went out to the ALCS when the Tigers and A's are,
I got what you're saying,
dude, fucking nuts, absolutely nuts.
In 2014, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, boys.
They still talk about it.
That A's team is much different from 2014 to 2023.
Just a little bit.
I'm with you.
Last team on the board, the good old Washington Commanders. 6.5 games is the line.
Bobby, you take this one.
I really don't want to. I've been up for 18 hours.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. It's all right. I got it. I feel like 6.5 games is extremely generous for this team. I'm taking the under here, guys. I just don't see a world where they win 7 games.
Where's Chase Young? Where is he?
Questionable again.
No idea.
Milk cartons.
But yeah, a lot of question marks on the defense. I don't think offensively they've got a lot going for them. I'm taking the under here.
That's all they have going for them is offensively, in my opinion. I think they actually have some pretty good weapons around this team. Scary Terry. Jahan Dotson, I think, is going to
great.
Pop. He's going to pop. Him and Drake London. I've got big eyes on both those guys this year. And then Brian Robinson, dude.
I do love me some Brian Robinson.
He's a beast.
That was the most chilling walkout like ever. Like when he came back last year.
Mini man.
So that said, Bobby, I'm in alignment with you. I'm taking the under.
All right. Todd.
Yeah, under. They're in the Caleb Williams conversation.
Yep, Caleb Williams lottery game. They have bought a ticket.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron.
Is that a lock for you, Todd?
Yes, you guys got to lock these. There's 2 locks out there.
I don't have it.
Todd.
Yeah,
you don't. You guys don't have any for this.
So
division.
Lock it. So lock in 6.5 under 6.
So pop, lock, and drop it. I'm taking the under here at 6.5. Sam Howell's NFL comp coming in was Baker.
He is a 5th round pick, by the way.
Right.
And has never had his hair gelled for a team photo.
So you can get the 6.5.
Go back and look at Sam Howell's team photos from the last 3 years.
There's been a lot.
Take a picture.
There's been a lot of picks tonight where I've said I have to pick one way or the other, and I'm not going to put my money down on it. I'm going to give you the complete reverse for the Commanders here, guys. They might have the worst offensive line in the NFL. There's reports coming out that they basically have to practice against the second team defense because they can't they can't practice otherwise because the defense is just too good. And that's not to say that I think that's a good thing for the Commanders defense. It's that bad for the offense. So yeah, Dotson and McLaurin are great, but not when you don't have 3 seconds. You can get the juice at -115 on the standard 6.5. Did that. You can get the juice at +150 for under 5.5. Did that. You can get the Washington Commanders as the worst regular season record at +1,500. Did that. This is how poorly I actually think the Commanders are going to be this year. And part of it too is great. There's a change of scenery. There's new ownership. That's great. How did that work out for the Broncos last year, guys?
Yeah, not good.
Not great. New ownership is great for optimism. It's not great. There's always new owner syndrome where they want to come in and put their fingerprints on stuff because they've always been businessmen and always have succeeded in the boardroom and have done really, really great things. No, that's not how pro football works. That's not how pro sports works. We see it all the time. I could see Washington again. This is more of a, from a worse record. Do I think they're going to be worse than the Cardinals? Yeah, maybe. It's the fact that I'm getting +1,500 odds here. I'm way under on the Commanders this year, boys.
All right, fair enough. Well, boys, I think that's a show.
We did it.
I think that's a show.
We came back in 2 hours. Just like lions don't stretch before they take down a zebra. You know what I mean? And we didn't stretch. We just came in and did 2 fucking hours like fucking dogs.
Some dogs.
Well, next week you will catch us doing the other conference, the AFC
so
Over
excited
and
about
Unders.
the AFC.
That should be a very, very fun show. Please make sure that you tune in next week, 8:30. Don't miss it. Ryan, Pops, Josh, Bruce, Rob, everybody that came in and commented, liked the video. Appreciate every single one of you guys. If you haven't already, hit that follow, share it, tell a friend. We're here every week moving forward. If you don't have all 4 of us, you'll have some collection of the 4.
Follow us on Spotify, baby.
Yeah,
it's football season, boys.
It's football season. It's back. So let's get it. Let's have a great season. It starts today. We'll catch you guys next week for the AFC Over Unders. Peace.
Peace.